You just got the phone call and heard the words that you have cancer. Now what? If you have been newly diagnosed or are the loved one of someone who has been diagnosed recently, this video is for you. My name is Renee. I'm 39 years old and I'm a new breast cancer survivor. And I've shared videos about imaging for breast cancer screenings and breast health. I've talked about my type of cancer and how to prepare for surgery. But I want to share a little bit about the diagnosis process and what that's like. It's really hard to put into words, but I recently listened to a Mel Robbins podcast, who I love, by the way, talking about overwhelm and anxiety. And it really struck a chord with me because when you go through a cancer diagnosis, life just stops. Your entire world stops. And I was struck with fear and anxiety and overwhelm, and I wasn't prepared on how to move through it because I wasn't expecting this diagnosis. I didn't feel a lump. So I didn't know how to navigate through. And there's really no, roadmap on how to go through a cancer diagnosis. But I do have some tips and insight for you to either use for yourself or to share with a friend. So please remember that this whole journey is a marathon. It is not a sprint. I remember wanting to just hurry up and go and get this cancer out of me and boom, 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 phone calls, appointments, go, let's do this. And I didn't take a moment to sit back and build up the stamina for the marathon. And even now in survivorship, I am still healing and still processing and still making decisions for what is best for me in my life and my health. So it's a marathon. Put those shoes on, lace them up, and do things to build up your stamina to overcome what Mel Robbins called legitimate anxiety. Now, that's not to say that a cancer diagnosis is more legitimate than going through a divorce or the loss of a loved one or having a child with special needs. It's not a comparison of anxiety. It's just defined as the fact that life stops and there's this overwhelm and this anxiety of a specific thing that's suddenly happened in your life and you have to deal with it. And she painted the picture of having to go down inside of a bunker and really just kind of telling your loved ones, like, I love you, but goodbye. This is where I need to go. And I need to go work on this. And that's kind of what it's like going through a cancer diagnosis, hiding in a bunker. But don't forget your loved ones and your support team to go down in that bunker with you. But getting down in that bunker and really kind of forgetting about the other worries of your life and focusing on this, because that's the priority. It's life and death. So again, it's really hard to put into words the feelings and a roadmap for going through diagnosis. For me, from start to finish, I shouldn't say finish, from the day I was diagnosed until my surgery, where I felt like I was finally doing something, there was some step happening, some treatment happening, it was about 2.5 months. So I've talked about what to do to prepare for surgery, but there's a whole mental side to this. So here are some key questions or some things to ask for or to think about when you're diagnosed. Number 1, find your appointment partner, whoever that's going to be, somebody that's going to be able to go to your appointments with you, that is going to support you, ask those questions, think clearly, look out for your best interest. So find your appointment partner. That could be a spouse, that could be a loved one, a friend, maybe another cancer survivor, whoever that may be, but get that person on your side. Number 2, decide who you want to tell and maybe ask somebody to also be a messenger for groups of people. Now, everyone's different. There's no right or wrong. Some people share their diagnosis with people and some people keep it very private, and that's okay. Do what's right for you, but you might want to stop and think, take a moment and breathe. and think about who you want to tell. Something that's really hard to prepare for is telling people that you have been diagnosed with cancer. And it's a very odd situation because I was in the state of shock, and I was still very upset when I was telling certain people that I felt like I needed to share the news with. But then when I shared that information, then they became struck with shock and be feeling upset. And all of a sudden, I felt the need to take care of them in that situation. Not because they made me feel that way. It was just the way I felt when I would say, I don't know how to tell you this, but I have cancer. The shock and the upset, you're then wanting to take care of the person on the other end of the phone call or the person in front of you. And that's not your job, but it is a very odd position to be in. If you can practice a script or something that you can write down and say, maybe read it off a piece of paper, that might help. If you're feeling like you've been telling people and you just need a break, but you feel like some people really do need to know, ask somebody to be that messenger. Maybe you've told one of your friends and they're from your group of high school friends, and you say, you know what, can you please share the news? Because I just need a break. It's mentally taxing and emotionally draining to share the news. So do what feels right for you. If just blurting it out on a social media thing is what's going to make you feel better, don't worry about what other people think. It's about you taking care of you. But take a moment, think about who really needs to know, how you want to share that information. Some people wait until there's an actual treatment plan in place before sharing that news. I'm going to do a whole nother video on how I told my kids and the right verbiage I used for that, for me and my family. But that's an important step. Number 3, health insurance. It's a double-edged sword, right? We're very thankful for it, but it's also a complete pain most of the time. So you're not probably thinking about health insurance as you're going to these appointments. You're taking in information about what you need to do to save your life. But you maybe have your appointment partner keep that at the top of the list when you are at these appointments. Maybe having your appointment partner, if you feel like you don't want to, pick up the phone and call your health insurance and tell them what's going on and ask them what is covered, what steps do I need to do. Some medical offices will have a financial planner that can sit down and talk with you about your insurance and financially and what will be covered and what won't. Something I just discovered was something amazing that my health insurance covered. I am reconstructed on one side and not on the other. There is a local boutique here where I live that provides apparel and prosthetics and things, wigs, creams, and everything for women going through breast cancer. And my insurance covered 4 bras and 2 prosthetics. I would have never known about that until I asked. So find out what's covered, what's not, and just keep track of all of the financials, unfortunately, because cancer is not cheap. Number 4, get second opinions. Interview your doctors. You are the paying customer. I remember feeling so ready to be, out the gate and run this sprint. Let's go, 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 go. Who can see me first? Let's go. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Research your doctors, get second opinions. There's time. Most of the time, it's not something that needs to be immediately removed from your body. Take the time, do your research. I wouldn't have changed who I went with my medical team, but I just wish I would have maybe gotten some other opinions, and just for your own confidence in making these decisions, gathering as much information as possible to make those informed decisions. Number 5, find your support network. I've talked about this before. Start connecting with survivors in your area, on social media, online that, might be a few steps ahead of you in the process. This is the best sisterhood that you never want to be a part of, but it really is the group of people who get you and understand. Number 6, learn what type of patient you are and how much you want to know. You might start going into some of these appointments completely in shock and not really absorbing in the information. Start to kind of wonder, do I want to know all the things, or do I just want them to do their job? As you probably know about me by watching my videos, I want to know everything. I want to read all the books. I want to go to every single website. I want to learn all about this. I want to tell me everything. But that might not be you. You might be the type of patient that says, you know what? I don't really want to know everything. Just do what you think is best. But let your doctors know that so they don't give you too much information ahead of time that you don't want to know. Number 7, take one step, one treatment at a time. Again, you're building stamina for this marathon. There are going to be a lot of steps of treatment. I remember going in for my first oncology appointment and seeing the papers of steps that were laid out for me. It's okay to learn about those things that might happen in the future, but take one thing at a time. Right now, my reconstruction is not finished. I don't feel comfortable moving on to endocrine therapy that is prescribed to me until my reconstruction is done. I am physically and mentally manifesting this one step right now. Take one step at a time. Don't get overwhelmed with all of it because it's a lot. Number 8, when you meet with your surgeons, they're not really going to give you their opinion most of the time. They're going to give you options and lay it in front of you and say, you get to decide. I have found the phrase, if I was your sister or if I was your mother, what would you recommend? And I find that phrase to be the one where they really open up personally and kind of give you their opinion. But do keep in mind, it's their opinion. It's not what you have to do. Number 9, take notes and document as much as you can. Whether that's your appointment partner taking notes, whether you go home and you start reading your oncology report, that final report, whatever it is, you start taking notes. I had a calendar that also had note sections for each day, and I would just take notes down on how I was feeling mentally and physically. Documenting everything as much as possible will help you get it out of your head, but it'll also be good to refer back to in the future. I also documented with pictures, and while that was extremely hard to do in the moment, I'm so glad I did, because I can go back and I can look and see how far I've come. And it's a reminder of how strong and resilient I am. And number 10, take care of your mental health. A cancer diagnosis is as much physical as it is mental. If you are not already seeking help from a mental health professional, that might be a good place to start. Or if you feel like journaling is a good place to start. Or if you have that friend that feels like you're going to a therapist, have them on speed dial. Take care of your mental health. Pray, meditate, take care of you. This is the time on the airplane to put your mask on first before putting masks on everybody else. You have to take care of you. And up here is just as hard to heal and to recover in a cancer diagnosis as it is here. Peace and love. I hope this helps. If there's anything I didn't think of, drop it down below.